included in the final piece. My voice, as you no doubt gathered, and my face will not appear in it. Are you ready, Mike?
Yeah, I'm rolling.
Tell me, what sets your product apart from the rest?
Well, in the personal computer business, the products are actually quite similar. Certainly, we would have some advantages in terms of coming to market early with key technology. But what sets our company apart generally is the quality of our service and the level of our service, and also the way in which we sell our products.
Well, why do you? What do you make of IBM's decision to make its personal systems sort of an independent entity?
Well, in many ways, they're doing something which they should have done quite some time ago, or something that most companies would have already done in terms of an independent business unit. I think that just reorganizing or restructuring the business doesn't necessarily solve all the problems. They have some significant issues around their inefficiency of distribution, lack of a customer focus, very layered management structure, and slow-moving decision-making, which is very, very important in this business.
All right. Well, given the obvious overheads they're presumably going to incur in setting up this division, I mean, are they going to be able to compete price-wise with your products, or indeed anyone else's?
Well, as you're probably well aware, just restructuring a division doesn't necessarily take costs out. So they've got a big challenge ahead of them in terms of reorienting the way they do their business before they're going to be able to compete. It's not going to be as easy as saying, okay, now this is an independent business unit.
Are they going to be able to compete with you in terms of quality?
IBM's ability to compete in quality really goes back to their response system and how quickly they can make decisions. Quality is defined by the customer's requirement, and fundamentally, if you're not in touch with the customer's requirement or your products are driven from a technology focus, it's very, very hard to meet that customer's requirement.
How about in the long term, granted they might have teething problems in getting this thing moving, but how do you see the long term? Surely they're going to be able to compete and match your products in years to come.
I think it would be foolish for us to underestimate IBM or any other competitor, particularly of that size or scale. But I think in the short term they're going to have significant difficulty. Long term, as they start to sort out some of the cost issues, which will involve some pretty painful restructuring, which is going to mean fewer people and significantly simplified process, significantly simplified distribution. Clearly that they can be a competitor, but to date they continue to make changes much more slowly than the market requires them to.
All right, if you could you sum up the main differences as far as a customer is concerned when choosing between your products and the IBM's equivalent? I mean, what are the obvious differences and advantages for your product?
I think it's service. We have a direct relationship with the customer, which gives us a service advantage. Product, we're more timely with new product introductions and new technology. Not just technology for the sake of technology, but technology that solves a customer problem, like a 3.5-pound notebook computer. I think the pricing clearly is a factor, given that we have a much, much lower cost structure. Our cost structure for selling is about half of Apple's, and I would suggest far less than half of IBM's, which gives us a structural advantage. I think just the overall responsiveness of a firm that's grown up learning how to compete with larger firms. IBM has not shown an ability to be responsive to its customers.
Well, what advantages, if any, do they have in terms of their product over yours?
Advantages on the product side, I don't think they have any. I think what they have is their name and their brand.
I see. I mean, in that case, is there any advice you'd like to offer IBM?
Well, I think that they're going to have to address, IBM's going to have to address the issues of inefficient distribution, the layered management structure, the slow level of response in terms of decision making that goes on, and they're going to have to build an organization which responds to customers' needs and is not technology driven.
Now, I understand you had enjoyed favorable results that were published on Wall Street recently, last week. Can you first of all remind us what they were, and can you keep it up?
Well, in the second quarter we had revenue growth of 129%. In the first quarter we had revenue growth of 109%. So our growth has been quite strong and accelerating. I think several of the industry analysts, and certainly we've agreed with them, have predicted that we can continue to grow at quite rapid pace.
Again, in the long term, granted you said IBM have to restructure there to compete, but do you not think that they will regain the market share?
I don't think that IBM will ever regain the market share that they once had in the PC business, and the reason is that the business is no longer based around proprietary standards, which is an area that IBM would typically do well in. It's a new world in terms of the standards that exist, the level of responsiveness and speed of response that's required, level of cost structure that's required. So IBM, more than any other company in this business, has a longer way to go to be a market-driven, market-successful company than any of the firms out there that are challenged today, and quite a few are challenged.
Now, I'm someone that's like a self-professed Luddite. So a Luddite is someone who doesn't like machinery or is confused or baffled by these things. Now, if I was walking into a shop and I saw your product alongside IBM, and with only a basic knowledge of these things, what choice do you think I would make, and why?
Well, what you might do is you might probably ask a friend that was knowledgeable about computers
Or assuming I know I have some knowledge, maybe not. Why would I possibly opt for your product?
Probably around the service and support and the overall value. I think if you looked at the specifications and the service package included as it relates to the price, it would be a more aggressive package than that from IBM.
And I understand you are established in Europe. Are you able to tell us something about that and on what strides you're making? Okay.
Well, we've been in Europe for 5 years. Actually, in June of '87, we started our UK operation, and we're now selling our products, supporting them, and manufacturing them all over Europe. We have sales operations throughout all the countries in Europe and in Central Europe, and a manufacturing facility in Ireland.
So I guess IBM watch out is the thing. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could we, as I said earlier, if we could, first of all, could you mind moments? I mean, I know you can speak from my profession, journalists who carry these things. I mean, you can have them in Baghdad or wherever, and you can write your scripts and process everything. But are there any other jobs that maybe I couldn't think of that people have found them incredibly useful for? Why?
Well, there are about 20 million personal computers sold every year, and they're used throughout white-collar business professions and factory automation, throughout the medical and accounting fields, and very, very heavily penetrated within large corporations. Full VGA screen.
Right.
So it has the basic functionality of a low-end to mid-range desktop computer. Doesn't have color, of course, built in, but it has external interface to color.
How about the printer?
It has a port. It has a port for printers.
And what size would the portable printer be?
There are portable printers that are about yay big, about 2 pounds. And they print using inkjet technology, which looks as close to to a typewriter as you can get.
Good. Okay. You able to just if you have something you need to type anyway, or something you'd like to type.
Sure. This is just background material for
Okay.
your
Mhm.
film footage, I suppose. So
If you don't mind carry on typing just for a minute or so, that would be.
okay. We have about 3,500 of our 3,800 employees are attached through this electronic mail system, and
Oh,
we
right. Right.
constantly communicate.
Without talking about it, that's all right. Just for about 30 seconds or so, that would be very helpful.
Excuse me.
That's a creature.
Yeah, visual thing, to know what's on the screen. Okay. I'm rolling.
Windows.